Jar Oil. The company have filling stations across the country, and our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market.
Excellent jam, Wave.
Yo, apply. Yo, luta do de. Luta munulo jel moto nga andil mahalis. Hello?
Busel mo fine.
What?
Busel mo fine.
Oh, yes!
Wave acts in Gambia. Deposit and withdraw money, pay bills, and buy mobile credit without fees. Transfer money wherever in the country for only 1% fee. At Wave, Busel mo fine. Wave, your money is yours.
On Wednesday, the 13th of August 2025, it's coffee time with Peter Gomez, and we're coming to you via both legacy media, West Coast Radio, and social media, our YouTube page. Now, the emergence of alternative media platforms like podcasts, social media networks, and independent streaming channels has disrupted the traditional gatekeepers of information. Multiple studies and surveys show a clear trend towards digital news. In the United States, for example, social media is on the cusp of overtaking television as Americans' top news source, according to the Reuters Institute's 2023 Digital News Report. YouTube has solidified its role as a news platform, leveraging its massive video library and content creators. Many news organizations and independent commentators run YouTube channels, and that includes newcomers West Coast Radio, making YouTube a hybrid space where traditional journalism and user-generated content exist. Now, it's a pattern mirrored worldwide, including here in the Gambia. A study on how Gambians stay informed shows that 90% turn to social media as opposed to 58% for television and only 38% in the case of radio. The report is co-authored by Sheikh Tijan Ba of A2 Zari, an independent research and data collection firm based here in the Gambia. The findings on media consumption are just part of a wide-ranging survey covering areas including health, education, and governance. And Sheikh Tijan Ba is here to unpack the findings for us. Sheikh Tijan, welcome to West Coast Radio and Coffee Time.
Thank you so much, Peter.
Did I call your firm's name right?
We will get to that. It's called A2 Survey. A2 Survey. The survey is like Z, but survey.
Z-U-R-E-Y?
Yes.
Ah. Okay. All right.
Yeah, anything different about.
What's the inspiration of the name?
So basically, we wanted the A and A to Z to signify that we are conducting research from A to Z. Basically, everything that research entails. That is the reason why we use the Z instead of S.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So yeah. And when was the firm created?
The firm was created in last year, 2024, that's September, and then now it's fully operational. We have an office at Bartes with a couple of employees.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. And this survey that you did, just unpack the information for us, the findings.
Okay. I want to quickly take you through I don't know if I have enough time, what the business is about and so on, and then I can a little bit move on what the survey was about.
Well, you have another 20 minutes at most.
At most, okay. Thank you. Basically, my name is Sehti Yanba. I graduated from Nusa Senior Secondary School, and I studied at Tokyo International University in Japan. Before that, I went to Uganda for a 6 months preparation camp where I met incredible people. And for Edu Survey, the reason why we started, both my co-founder and myself are really passionate about imagining market and so on. And then we realized that data is super important. My stay in Japan, I have met a couple of incredible people, attended business conferences and so on. One thing that stood out is there are a lot of businesses that wanted to establish in Africa, but they don't have the information that is needed, that is data. And then this is where we get the inspiration from providing data to businesses and foreign companies that want to establish in the Gambia, because they don't have answers to simple questions such as what to invest in, where to invest, when to invest, how to invest. Those informations are not available. And then this is not just about foreign companies. Even local companies in the Gambia struggle to have answers to some of these questions. And I think one of the fastest growing industries like mobile money. We know like the likes of Wave, AfriMoney, QMoney, UNO, APS, and the likes. The market is so dynamic, and then there are a lot of players, and then consumer preferences are changing so rapidly. We have, but what we believe is businesses should know exactly who their consumers are, what their consumers are doing, what are their preferences, what do they spend on, what are things that lead to them switching from one provider to another. Like these are things that I think any business should know. They are fundamental to everybody. But the truth is the data is not available. I would want to go deeper into data gaps, but we can go into the data to the research we conducted and then see exactly what people are saying. It's not from me, not from my co-founder, not from my workers. It's from the Gambians.
Yeah, well, pick out the main ones and discuss them.
Data gaps? Okay, so a couple of data gaps that I wanted to highlight. We have, like, let's say, for instance, the immigration and remittance. We know that it contributes, remittance contribute, like, I think in 2024, about 26% to the Gambia's GDP. But now the problem here is there are a couple of things that we don't have answers to. And these things include, let's say, for instance, what are the activities, some of the activities people engage in within the diaspora. When they send the money in the Gambia, what are the monies being spent on? Are they for construction? Are they for family use and so on? I think these are gaps that we need to understand before we can implement things that are actually needed to help the country to develop. Another one would be, a quick one would be rice as a staple food. We know probably almost everyone in the Gambia consumes rice, not everyone, but most of the people. And then, but a couple of things that we don't know about is like, how many households are consuming rice on a daily basis? How frequently do they consume? What percentages of this rice are being produced locally, and then the ones that are being exported? And I think there is a gap that can help institutions to know how to strategize funds and so on. Yes, this is what I have to say about A2 survey and why we started the company.
Okay. And well, you've come out with findings on governance, health, education. Discuss your findings. Okay,
so we do conduct a lot of researches. This is one of them. We have conducted a research on telecom. We have conducted a research on the increase of price of bread. Mm-hmm. The recent one, it was a quick survey, and then consumer priorities and so on. But our recent study, which was conducted about top national concern about Gambians, what Gambians are mostly concerned about, the trust level people have towards the government in solving some of these national issues. What are things that Gambians think need to be urgently addressed in the country are also being addressed within the study. We also dive into substance abuse, which substances are mostly abused, and so on. So to start with the first one, the top national concerns, Peter, not surprisingly, healthcare emerged as the top. Almost 95.3% of the respondents said that they are concerned about this healthcare. And then another one is rising cost of living. 94.6% of the respondents mentioned that they are concerned about this. We have crime, that is 93.1%, and corruption, 91% of people say they are concerned about this. There are other areas that we look at, but at the base level, 9 out of 10 Gambians have concern about these issues that I have just listed. And other ones include drug abuse, unemployment, safety, and poor governance are also captured within the study. So 9 out of 10 Gambians said they have issues with this national risks that we have just highlighted. Another aspect is the trust of the government to address these issues. We have a couple of areas that we mentioned to the respondents, such as corruption, transparency, increasing crime, unemployment, healthcare access, drug abuse, and the likes. So one portion that is about no trust at all. People that do not have, they have zero trust government can solve these issues. 66.7% said they have no trust, which is for government to solve things related to corruption. For transparency, 55.9, increase in crime, 52.2, unemployment. Half of the respondents said they have no trust in the government to solve this. Healthcare was around half of the respondents. Only 4.6% of the respondents have fully trust in the government to solve these issues.
So almost 7 out of every 10 Gambians do not trust the government to, handle corruption the way they should.
Yes.
Okay.
And then moving to the areas that people think need urgent improvement. Urgent improvement for government to look into is healthcare dominated, which is almost 92% of the respondents. We have education, 65. With the recent release, it stood to be, of the worst result, it stood to be like the second most concerned issues. And then we have food security and agriculture, that's 60. Justice and security, like 54%. Some of the areas that were areas that were mentioned was about public transportation, internet access, that is digital access, environmental protection, women's rights protection. Those were some of the list areas that were mentioned by the respondent. Although for women rights and protection was around 11% of the respondents did mention that this area needs urgent improvement. We also went to substance abuse, which includes like the most substance that the drugs that are mostly abused by Gambians consumed on a daily basis. We have, I don't think we have considered cigarette here because it was predominant. And then we started with tobacco, cannabis. About 80% of the respondents said this is the most abused substance. We have alcohol, 58. Kus, almost half of the respondents did mention that. There are other ones such as pills, cocaine, heroin, and spice, and hash, which is about 0.7% of the respondents did mention that. And another area was about substance abuse. The areas where this substance abuse, ghettos, that is the street corners were mentioned. Almost 80% of the respondents. We have nightclub, 63%. Residential spaces was around 22%. The last one, another part, this is not the last part, we also have information sources where Gambians get information. You did mention about this.
Yeah, because it concerns,
it
concerns me.
The West Coast. So, social media top the chart. Almost 90% of people said social media is their primary source of information. I think these studies mostly contain people that are mostly educated. It has a certain percentage, I think 4.6% of the respondents were not educated. And then television was 58, and then radio is around about 38% of the respondents did mention this. There is more of the findings, but this is basically some of the key findings. We also looked at law enforcement agencies, whether they can solve drug issues, the percentage, what people think, whether the method they are using are effective or not, were also discussed within the studies. Whether the penalties that are also put in place can actually solve the problem of drug abuse. That also was covered within the studies. And whether there are rehabilitation centers or not were also covered. I think about 7.3% of the respondents are aware that there are rehabilitation centers in the Gambia. And then I think 41% say they don't know, they are not aware of whether there are rehabilitation centers for mental health issues and so. And then 50.6% said no, they don't have, there are no rehabilitation centers in the Gambia. So there is a lack of information, like information gap within this space. Yes.
Interesting. And where did you, conduct your survey? Mainly in the Greater Banjul area, right across the country?
So the survey covers mostly the Greater Banjul area and then in a part of other regions, but the sample was mostly focused on the Greater Banjul area. It did also capture other part of the country, but it was mostly the Greater Banjul area.
And you feel that your sample size was representative of, the country's population composition as a whole?
So the sample was about 534, which we believe have given us an idea on an exploratory research, where to start exactly, and areas to look at. And this is fair enough for somebody to deduct some findings and key. If you want to make some recommendation and so on, it's a good place to start with.
Okay.
With a sample.
Say the question on how Gambians, are informed. How was it framed, for example? Because sometimes, the response you'd get, depends on how the question was framed.
So we asked people which social media platform do they use most when it comes to having access to information.
Okay. So the question was specifically which social media platform.
Which platform do they use? Sorry, not social media. Which platform do they use most when it comes to having access to information? Not social media. It was because we have like radios, television, and the likes. So it was mostly which platform do they use when it comes to having access to information.
Okay, so this is general information.
Yes.
Not news specifically.
Not news specifically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's important, huh? Because questions have to address issues. Usually, people go to somebody would come to coffee time, hopefully for news, and information that they can use. Whereas out there in social media, there's everything, sensationalized information.
Exactly.
Wrong information.
Misinformation. It's a lot. But I'm glad that there are a couple of institutions in the Gambia. I think I recently saw like Fact Check and the likes trying to fight disinformation, which is really a good move. Because we cannot, what I believe is we cannot stop people using social media platform in this generation.
No, you can't.
We can. But we need to look for ways to ensure that the information that is going out is accurate. And one way we can do that is like trying to understand how many percentage of the people are using it to consume information. What type of information are they consuming and the likes? Then institutions like fact-check institutions can dive in to see exactly with government institutions to see how they can help in filtering out information, whatever method they can use.
Okay, you describe your A2 survey as an independent firm. How did you get funding, to carry out this study?
Funding. I think all the studies we have done, we did it ourselves. Be it the telecom, be it this one I just talked about, the increasing price of bread, and then also consumer priorities. We also have another one coming very soon. It's called the teacher satisfaction. The sample for West Coast is already, West Coast and the Greater Banjul area is already being done, so we have to go to the province and then conduct more in-depth on the teachers that are there. So everything is done by Edu Survey. We don't have sponsors or the likes.
Yeah, but you can't keep going. I mean, very soon you'll run out of funds. Maybe you are funding your studies out of your savings.
Yes.
If you keep, doing surveys and funding your movement around, you'll soon be without, any more savings.
That's correct. Edu Survey currently have partners. It's difficult. I don't know, for some reason, it was hard for us to get partners in the Gambia compared to international research from outside. We get a couple of international research firms.
So you have some funding for this activity?
Yes, but the funding was, we conducted some research for them, and then they, through that fund that we receive from those researches, that is the fund we are using to conduct these researches.
Okay.
So we have partners like the Geopol, Sicores, and Azuri in Canada. We have conducted a couple of researches for international firms. So that is the fund that we are using to do this in-house surveys. And we want to do more. Okay,
and who are you expecting to give you money for this latest one to support you anyhow?
So for these surveys, we want to put it to the public to know, see our work, what we do, and everything. And these reports would be freely available. But again, we are also trying to approach different institutions, such as mobile money companies, the Gambia College. We recently have interviews with them, presentation with some mobile money companies too. We are approaching more institutions to tell them the importance of conducting market research, how we can help them to stand in a more competitive edge when it comes to the industry that they're operating in, to understand their consumers more. In doing so, we're hopeful that we're going to have people that would be interested in conducting market research.
Okay, I have a text message coming in here. Good morning, Uncle Peter. Kindly ask the guest about the plight of persons with disabilities throughout the country. Have you done any research on the plight of persons with disability?
As of now, I believe we have drafted because we have a lot of surveys in the pipeline right now, and one of the surveys that we already put in the pipeline is focusing on disabilities too, their access, the problems that they face, and the likes. So we're going to launch a study regarding that very soon, depending on the funds we have and so on. But it would be an area that will be covered. Unfortunately, we're out of time, Asha. Any maybe final message? Our final message is we're currently organizing stakeholder presentation. It would be held in Alliance Francis. Next month, 27, we would be inviting a lot of different stakeholders and presenting on these studies that we already conducted on the mobile money, governance, top priorities that the people are concerned about, the change of price of bread, consumer priorities, and the other surveys that we're about to do. We're going to present this thing, and we would also have a panel discussion on what Gambians consumers want, what do they think, and the like. So we would have about 3-4 experts on the panel to discuss this issue. So the flyers, look out for our flyers and our reports from a2survey.com. We're going to publish these reports, and then also on our social media platform. The flyers would also be available for the event. Thank you so much, Peter, for giving us the opportunity. All right, thank you very much. Shafti Janba of A2 Survey. All right, thank you very much.
Jar Oil, the company, have filling stations across the country, and our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market.
Axel jam si Wave.
Yo, apply. Yo, luta to dede. Luta mo nulo jël moto nga andil ma xaalis. Hello?
Bisul mu fine.
What?
Bisul mu fine.
Oh, yes!
Wave Axina Gambia. Deposit and withdraw money, pay bills, and buy mobile credit without fees. Transfer money wherever in the country for only 1% fee. At Wave. Bisul mu fine? Wave. Your money is yours.